From the moment that we are born, we all start out as part of an external collective. This collective encompasses our familial upbringing, our social circles, educational systems, religious beliefs, and cultural norms that all profoundly shape our personalities. And in this external world, we are subjected to conventional rules, guidelines, and expectations that all dictate our perceptions, beliefs, and behaviors. Within us, however, resides a distinct and equally significant inner world of the psyche. This realm is as real and as impactful as the external world. Unfortunately, many of us are not aware of the intricate workings of this inner world that encompasses our feelings, our behaviors, and our emotions. So we have to attain an understanding of the intricacies of the human psyche and learn how to exert influence over its functioning if we are to attain what the Swiss psychologist Carl Jung termed as completeness or wholeness of the personality. So in this video today, I'll be delving into the intricacies of the human psyche and the process of attaining a complete and integrated personality. If this is something that you're interested in, please stay tuned and let's delve right in. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Cynthia, and on this channel I talk about metaphysics, psychology, and everything in between. Before we delve into today's video, I would like to please request you to support this channel by clicking on the subscribe button and hitting the notification bell so you are notified every single time I upload. Please also remember to follow the Hill Seekers on all the social media platforms below. Now let's jump right into the video. Before we begin, it's imperative that I clarify the term psyche. It originally meant spirit also, but by the turn of the 20th century, it evolved to mean the mind. And in Jungian psychology, it is seen as a person's total personality that encompasses all one's thoughts, emotions, feelings, and behaviors. And Jung categorized the psyche into three major realms, each playing a unique role in the inner world. So let's jump right into the first realm of the psyche, the conscious. This represents your field of awareness, and it consists of psychic contents that you are consciously aware of. And its core lies the ego, which is your personality as you know it firsthand. Each one of us has an ego, and it plays a crucial role in our inner world because it acts as a gatekeeper that influences the contents of experience that are reflected in consciousness and those that are repressed, limited, or ignored. And the ego, in its role as gatekeeper, also controls the contents of the next main realm of the psyche, which is the personal unconscious. To explain the personal unconscious, let's start with a quote from Carl Jung. "There are certain events of which we have not consciously taken note. They have remained, so to speak, below the threshold of consciousness. They have happened, but they have been absorbed subliminally." Jung is referring to events that your ego has repressed, rejected, or disregarded for a range of reasons. These events might be distressing, fed from memory, or just considered unimportant. They, however, do not disappear completely from your psyche. Instead, they occupy your personal unconscious and continue to have the potential of influencing your personality. So your personal unconscious is made of, for the most part, of complexes, which was a term that was coined by Carl Jung and refers to a knot of unconscious feelings and beliefs that can be detected through your behaviors and have the potential of keeping you from attaining psychic wholeness. And on a much deeper level of your psyche, there exists the collective unconscious, which is the third realm. The collective unconscious, which is the third realm, is sometimes referred to as the objective psyche, and it refers to the idea that there is a segment of the deeper unconscious mind that is genetically inherited and not shaped by personal experiences. Jung believed that the collective unconscious is expressed through archetypes, and archetypes are symbols, signs, patterns of thinking, behaving that are inherited from ancestors. And also events such as birth, death, union of the opposites, and also archetypal figures like the mother, the father, the trickster, the hero, the wise old man, and also archetypal motifs such as the creation of the world and the apocalypse. Jung believed that these archetypes, these universal archetypes, exist because of the shared human experience throughout the world. And here is a brief history of how Jung discovered the existence of the collective unconscious. So during his work, Jung encountered similar patterns in the dreams of patients with schizophrenia and by observing primitive cultures across the world. And he noticed that not only were there uncanny similarities between the unconscious materials of these patients, but interestingly, there were also uncanny similarities in the major mythological motifs and religious symbols of different civilizations. So this led Jung to propose that on top of the conscious and personal unconscious existed another realm, which is the collective unconscious. He also studied Gnosticism, comparative religion, and mythology to acquire a wider knowledge of the origins and significance of man's collective unconscious. So, your personal unconscious is primarily made of thoughts and memories that were once part of your conscious awareness, but have since faded from it either due to forgetting or repression. And in contrast, your collective unconscious is made up of elements that have never been part of your conscious awareness, but exist solely because they are inherited and not shaped by personal experiences. It's important to note, however, that these realms of the psyche do not exist in isolation, but continually interact with each other, creating a dynamic interplay between the conscious and unconscious aspects. And it's this dynamic interplay that forms the foundation of personal growth and wholeness of the personality through what Jung termed as the individuation process. But to comprehend the individuation process, we must first explore the four major Jungian archetypes that play a pivotal role in this transformative process. The first major archetype is the persona. This is the conformative archetype and is the part of the personality that arises due to reasons of adaptability and personal convenience. It represents all the social masks that we wear among the different various groups and situations. And it is regarded as a mask because it serves to hide the individual's true character. So it is who you appear to be and not who you are. And all these social masks are formed to hide the primitive ways, impulses, and emotions that are considered socially unacceptable. And the persona serves to protect the ego, to shield it from negative images, so it's not seen in a negative light. Over-identification with your persona, however, and believing it's who you are, will cut you from the deeper realms of your psyche, and you will lose sight of who you are. Also, repressing these sides of yourself that you don't want to show only serves to strengthen and darken your shadow, which is the next major archetype. Archetype number 2, the shadow. Jung stated the shadow to be the dark, unknown side of the personality that is composed of basically repressed ideas, weaknesses, desires, shortcomings, and instincts. Now, the shadow is formed out of your attempt to adapt to cultural norms and expectations. It is the archetype that consists of all the things that are unacceptable not only to society but to your own morals and values. And it contains things such as envy, greed, jealousy, prejudice, aggression, and we all have shadows, though some people deny this as this element of their psyche and instead project it onto others through psychological projection, which is basically a defense mechanism where an individual defends himself against unconscious impulses, denying their existence in himself and attributing them to others. The qualities we often can't stand in ourselves, the qualities that we often can't stand in others, we have in ourselves but wish not to see. But if we do not recognize these psychological projections, we will inadvertently create an illusory environment that's a replica of our own unknown face. Think about it. So the shadow plays a vital role in the balancing of the overall psyche. Therefore, a weak adaptation of the shadow will lead to a low level of personality, where you become a passive victim to your shadow and you'll be extremely worried about other people's opinions, and you'll basically be a walking persona. The dissolution of the persona and integration of the shadow is a central part of the individuation process and marks the first stage of the process. Without it, recognition of the anima and animus is impossible. And the anima and animus are the third archetype. The third major Jungian archetype is the anima and animus. The human psyche inherently is composed of both feminine and masculine aspects, remaining androgynous irrespective of the individual's physical gender. The personality or the persona naturally takes on the gender role that an individual is born into. So a woman will take on more of a feminine role, and the man will take on more of a masculine role. So the psyche compensates for this by birthing contrasexuality within the inner life of the person. So within the shadow, there exists two contrasexual figures, the anima and the animus. So think of the anima as the female aspect and the animus as the male aspect. So in every man's psyche, there exists an unconscious female aspect called the anima, which is a personification of all female psychological tendencies. And in every woman, there exists an unconscious male aspect called the animus, which is the personification of all masculine psychological tendencies. When the man integrates his anima, it transforms into eros, leading to the emergence of a nurturing and empathetic personality, facilitating a deeper connection with his emotions. And when a woman assimilates her animus, it transforms into logos, equipping her with the ability to exhibit assertiveness, thoughtful decision-making, and a spirit of exploration. Human society, however, encourages men and women to adapt to traditional and rigid gender roles. And Jung suggested that this discouragement of women from exploring their masculine aspects and men from exploring their feminine aspects only serves to undermine psychological development. The fourth major archetype is the self. This is the archetype of wholeness. The self is the culmination of both the conscious and unconscious aspects of the psyche, constituting the individual's total personality. Achieving the self is the central goal of Jung's psychology, and it involves what Carl Jung termed as individuation or self-realization. Now, let's get into what the individuation process actually is. So, what is the individuation process? Well, this is a lifelong process where various aspects of our personality or psyche are integrated. And according to Carl Jung, the individuation process occurs naturally and it doesn't require any initiation by the individual. As we grow, the depth and complexity of our consciousness increases, whether we are intentionally striving for that outcome or not. Jung, however, promoted a more proactive approach to individuation or wholeness of the personality. And a good way to understand the natural process of individuation that just happens and the more proactive and conscious approach to individuation that the Jung psychology promotes is to consider the analogy of a human body. Our bodies grow and develop without our conscious awareness, right? But we can take a more proactive stance towards that development by either exercising or eating properly. So in the same manner, we can take a more proactive approach towards the individuation process or towards our journey to complete wholeness of the personality. And Jung suggested various measures that we can use to accelerate the individuation process. and be able to attain that level of wholeness of personality much earlier. Here are some of the methods that you can use to expedite the individuation process. Method number 1 is dream work. Now, this is when you record and analyze your dreams over an extended period of time. And dreams, Jung found, are the gateway through which the unconscious communicates with our conscious minds. And in his own words, our dreams are like windows that allow us to look in or to listen in to that psychological process which is continually going on in our unconscious. The reason many people have trouble making sense of their dreams is that they do not understand the language of the unconscious mind, which is purely symbolic. And in his attempt to decipher the symbolic language, Jung noticed a remarkable similarity between symbols expressed in the dreams of his patients and those found in mythologies past and present. And to account for the similarities, Jung proposed that the unconscious mind is made of transpersonal and universal elements that are heritable and a product of one's biology and not one's personal experiences. The commonalities of symbols found in the dreams of different people and myths past and present can be attributed to the fact that they are manifestations of the identical psychic structures common to all, which are archetypes that we mentioned earlier. Therefore, the individuation process is when you become increasingly consciously aware of these different archetypes, and therefore you gain knowledge into the timeless patterns of human life. And this knowledge is of great value because it provides us with the awareness that many of our problems are not unique to us, but common to all humanity. The second method is shadow work. Solely identifying with your persona and striving for perfection is akin to chasing after the wind. Instead of fostering personal growth, it significantly impedes your development, because the more you strive for perfection, the more you fuel your dark side and lose control over how it manifests in your day-to-day actions. So you must face up to those sides of yourself that you deem unacceptable. And this is no easy task, trust me, I know. But by recognizing qualities like selfishness, greed, and aggression, you will start to understand them and even begin to channel them in a healthier way. A great way to recognize these qualities is by maintaining an ongoing record of significant mental, physical, or emotional responses to people and events in your environment. Journaling about the sources of your irrational anger, triggers of your sadness, and those moments when you feel an unsettling discomfort, loneliness, fear, anxiety is a great way to start doing shadow work. I actually previously made a video on what the shadow is and how to do shadow work. I'm going to link it up here. I urge you to go and check out this video. You'll get a more holistic understanding of the shadow, what it is, and how to carry out shadow work. So please check it out. Also, acknowledge the contrasexual aspects of your psyche and embrace them instead of repressing them. Being a compassionate and emotional man is perfectly honorable, just as being a confident and adventurous woman is entirely respectable. Remember what Carl Jung said, there is no light without a shadow and no psychic wholeness without imperfection. Method number 3, active imagination. Now, this is the act of producing a sequence of fantasies by deliberate concentration. Occasionally, relax your mind and simply contemplate any one fragment of fantasy that seems significant to you or something you have become conscious of in your dreams. Then, elaborate the fantasy by observing the further fantasy material that adds itself to that fragment in a natural manner. Allow the images to arise from the unconscious and communicate with you. Write down, or if you can, draw what comes up. You might even stumble upon a masterpiece. Now, here's something rather fascinating. Jung found that the existence of unrealized and unconscious fantasies increase the frequency and intensity of dreams, and that once these fantasies are made conscious, the dreams change their character and become weaker and less frequent. So from this, he drew the conclusion that dreams sometimes contain fantasies that want to become conscious. So why not go ahead and live out some of your fantasies in your imagination? It is worth noting, however, that this is a powerful method, but does not go without risk. It can, for instance, lead you too far from reality, so you need to approach it with caution. In conclusion, individuation, or the journey to wholeness of the personality, is a transformative process that not only promotes positive mental health but also fosters maturity and personal responsibility. But to embark on this quest successfully, you must commit to understanding and embracing all the different elements of your psyche consciously. By doing so, you'll be able to attain psychological wholeness and be able to discover your true self and ultimately attain the goal of human psychological development that Carl Jung outlined. But you need to understand that this path is a lifelong endeavor. So approach it with dedication and you will be able to uncover the profound potential of growth and self-discovery that lies within you. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and let me know down in the comment section below what you thought about these different measures that can help you attain psychological wholeness. I'm talking about dream work, shadow work, and active imagination. I'm very curious to know your reflections on this, so please feel free to leave a comment below. Also, remember to support this channel by clicking on the subscribe button below. That will mean a great deal. Thank you for watching this video and I'll see you in my next. Bye.